Good morning, everybody. I've got Nico Lagan with me today. Nico, how you doing today?
Fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I was excited to talk to you. Every time I looked at your Instagram, I really liked your content, and I think we talked once about you having a new book coming out. What's your book about?
Y- My book is about helping men with, you know, we we've heard the word midlife crisis forever. Like we know that there is a period of time where men go through questioning, like self-questioning, and we kind of made a mockery out of it. Like if I tell you midlife crisis, what are you thinking? Like what comes on to mind?
Um, did I make all the right decisions when I was in my 20s? Did I listen to my father enough? Did I put enough effort in? Should I have done this? Should I have done that? And I'll be honest with you, I self-reflect all the time.
But see, this is a beautiful thing. But for most people, we've made a joke out of the midlife crisis. Like when I think midlife crisis, I've always imagined a fat, bald-headed guy that's looking at sports car, maybe leaving his wife because he wants to date younger women. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's looking for an escape from his reality because he's not satisfied with where he is in life. Basically, that's the joke that we made of it. And it leaves men wondering, is this normal what I'm feeling, or is it because at the end of the day, this is the biggest problem I see with men my age. I'm 40 years old, and nobody's ever told me that this was going to happen. Nobody told me that when I around 40, like 35 to 45, I would start asking very serious questions, and it's normal that you should embrace it. You should embrace that self-reflection, that introspection, the chance to question everything. And this is what the book is about. It's really to help men between 35 and 45 years old to deal with what is that middle crisis, that midlife crisis, sorry, what it means, and how do you use that as a tool? Because to me, pain and suffering are the best teachers. If you want to learn, suffer through something. I guarantee you'll learn a lesson at the end of it. No questions about it. So instead of seeing the midlife crisis as something bad, I want to teach men to realize that it is one of the most beautiful time in their lives, and they should embrace that period as a turning point instead of being scared of facing their fears.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. It's so funny. You're so right. I think everybody's perception of the midlife crisis is that bald, overweight guy trying to catch that young girl. And you're right. I didn't even think of that. That didn't even cross my mind. But I know for sure
Yeah,
that's everybody's first opinion on the thing. But I want to
yeah.
touch back on something. You were saying that, shoot, man, you had a good point there. That was really cool. You were saying that you should embrace a struggle. You should be able to go
Yep.
through some fire and see if you can get something out of that. And I would go even further and say, making sure you're telling the truth while you're in, because when you're in like a trial situation, you still there, brother? Okay, you are. When you go through a trial situation, you want to be able to tell the truth so that you
Mhm.
know you're going through your journey. You're not going through an alternative version of Regan's journey or Nico's journey, but you're going through your actual journey that you're supposed to have. So that when you're tested by the fire, you're tested by the right test at the right time. And I don't know if it's even a struggle. I think it's just our perceptions change. When you're 20, you're made out of you're made out of metal. You can't. No one can
Yeah.
touch you. No one can. You're unstoppable. You're undefeatable, and you have this hero mindset. But when you get older, you your ability to be cognitively aware of all that you've learned multiplies, I think. And all of a sudden, you start getting a little more retrospective. And I'll be honest with you, I think you're touching on a great subject, man.
Well, because it's not taught to us anymore. To me, there's three vital times in a man's life. When he transitions from being a boy to becoming a man, when he realizes that he needs to become a good man, he needs to become selfless for his family and take on his duty as a father. Then the third stage is the midlife crisis. Once you've been a good man for a long time, you've did the daily grind, you've took care of your family, you were selfless. Now comes a time where you have the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience to become selfish and discover what your personal legend is, what your purpose is, what is the reason for you to be on this earth. Because your number one duty is to your family. Once that duty has been not fulfilled, but doesn't require as much time because your kids are older, now you can turn back and go do some introspection, and concentrate your effort on yourself in order to discover what you've become after that 15 years of grinding, because you're not 20 anymore. Like, I'm 40 years old. I ain't fucking 20 anymore. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, but in my head, maybe I am. Most men have grinded for so long that they're in a situation where their mind is still stuck in their 20s. Although they did all the good things they needed to do, when it comes to them, they're in their 20s, and when they look at the mirror, they're like, holy fuck, what the hell? What I see in the mirror is not how my mind sees myself. There's a total disconnect between the mirror and your self-identity.
Oh yeah, that's a huge wake-up call.
Yeah. So, you know, it's such a beautiful time in a man's life to be able to realize those things, but unfortunately we're not taught this anymore. If you look at most men in their 20s, I call them eternal teenagers. Like, they're still stuck in a mindset where I don't want to have responsibility. I want to do as less as possible and enjoy as much as possible. The guys have no wisdom. They have no intent of developing themselves. They're mostly just enjoying life like they had an unlimited amount of years coming up, that time is not going to catch up to them when they're at their dawn of their 30s, because we lack rites of passages. We lack boys becoming men. We lack the fact that there's no stage in a boy's life now where you are tested. And the main difference, if you look at the main difference between a woman and a man, or between a girl and a boy, a girl becomes a woman by becoming fertile. As soon as this happens, we start identifying that, we start assuming, and we start acknowledging that she has now become a woman. This is what becoming a woman is for a little girl. It's biology. For men, on the other hand, we need to prove ourselves. We need to prove our community, ourselves, our loved ones, that we have what it takes to take care of life, to be providers, to be protectors. We have the skills that we need, or at least the mindset that we need, in order to become men and be part of a community. But we don't have those rites of passages anymore. We don't have a specific time where men or boys are tested, where we acknowledge that they become men and we fucking celebrate them for becoming men. You are now a man today because you were able to prove to us that you fucking have what it takes to be a man. There's a good reason. If you look at any wars, look at the Second World War, for example. From memory, the average man that died was about 28 years old. But the biggest group of men that died were 19. Men, when they're young, have no fucking value. We don't have value because we don't have the skills to be providers, to be protectors yet. We have to build them, but we don't have those skills, so our value is very low. Which is why, as I was saying earlier, first step is to become a man. Once you're a man, you're supposed to be taught by your father, strong male figures. You're supposed to have mentorship. You're supposed to have people that's been through it to tell you this is what it takes to become a good man. Those are the steps. Those are how you get there. You do it at your own, using your own natural tools that you have, but those need to be predefined again. We need to teach our boys what it is to become a man, what it is to become a good man, and then what it takes to become a great man. Because to become a man, you need to leave your boyish dreams or your boyish tendencies, I could say, and become a man. That's the first step. How do you become a good man? To me, there's 5 virtues. You are supposed to be a protector. You're supposed to be a provider. You're supposed to have courage. You're supposed to have temperance, and you're supposed to have faith. That's what it takes to become a good man. But when you're in your 30s, mid 30s, you've been a good man for 15 years, 10 years, however long, now takes the balls to become great. What were you put on this planet for? Why the fuck are you here? Let's go after this. This is what this book is all about, but I am writing the second book already on what it takes to become a good man. And then the third, I already know what I'm going to be speaking to. I'm going to go even further in there. So, but you see how there's 3 important stages in a man's life. And right now, we don't have the rites of passages. We don't talk about the quarter life crisis when a man becomes about 28 years old and realizes that he's not going to be 20 for very long, that he looks like a man mirror, but he acts like a child. And then we make fun of the midlife crisis because in our head, men are just supposed to work and shut the fuck up, right?
Yeah, I think you're nailing it. And I'm wondering if the lack of rite of passage has caused us to almost feminize men in some cases. A lot of these
100%.
a lot of these young men seem to be, like you said, acting like they're never going to have to grow up, which is kind of like a female trait if you think about it.
I agree with you 100%. You look at men today, a lot of young men, I don't want to say all of them, but a lot of young men are under the impression that there's no such thing as having control over your emotions, that you should be able to cry whenever you want. You should be able to let that shit out wherever you feel like doing it. But this is one of the most feminine trait that you can have. Yeah. The most masculine trait that you can develop is temperance, to have control over your emotions. I'm not saying that a man should be emotionless, but he should fucking know when it is time to be emotional and when it is time to be a rock. This is self-control. I'm a very emotional guy. I think you can see just by the way I'm speaking. Yeah. But I know when to be emotional. At home, my girlfriend knows how I am. She knows all the aspects of me. She knows I can be emotional with her. But I don't go around crying in public. I don't go around letting my emotion take control. I fucking control them.
Yeah, it's actually scary to even think that someone would be untethered so much in that manner. I'll be honest with you. I think you have to have that balance of learning from a child to adulthood as a man. That has to be balanced. And then who you are as a person has to be balanced. You can't be working too much. You can't be playing too much. You can't be goofing around or whatever it is too much. You have to be, because you can't be too stoic where you're not talking to anybody either. You got to be able to express yourself and talk, because speech, writing, reading, all those things are the most powerful versions of you. The thought of you is the most powerful part. So you got to be able to control your emotions enough to speak properly. There's a lot of ins and outs that I think we also have another issue that's not just blame on society itself. Technology is moving so fast that your father doesn't know everything. If you look at it for 6,000 years, if you were going to be a construction worker, it was because your dad was a construction worker and he knew all the answers. And when I say he knew all the answers, nothing changed. The tools, the equipment, the job didn't change for 6,000 years. So your dad knew everything. Nowadays, my son looks at me and he knows more about a computer than I do, or he knows more about and now it's like dad doesn't know everything. So that in and of itself is an element that we've never experienced before in a human history, where technology moves so fast that the 3 generations that still exist are not using the technology that the child is now.
You know, though, I think that's an excuse because...
Well, it's an element. I'm just saying it's an element. I'm saying it's an element. I'm not saying that...
But I think it's an excuse that people will use, because at the end of the day, when you think about it, what made me so successful in sales, so successful at creating rapport with my customers was the fact that I had no shame in admitting that I did not know something. If they asked me, I was the technical guy. So if they had a question that I did not know the answer, I will be the first. And to this day, I will be the first to admit I do not know. But one skill that I've acquired over the years is that I am a crazy researcher. I do a shit ton of research on everything. So I might not know the answer, but I can obtain that answer. And I think this is the skill that needs to be passed on, and not just to your son, but to boys around the world, is the fact that nobody knows everything. And it's okay not to know anything, not to know everything, sorry. But the answers are out there. And I think this is the skill we need to teach is don't know, no problem. I'll show you how you can find those answers. And on top of that, to me, a mentor, a father, a male figure will not know everything, but will have experienced enough life to show directions. Like the fact that you don't know everything about a specific subject is not very important, but to be able to tell a boy that maybe you should go check over there. Have you ever thought about looking into that direction over there? Just look, there's something over there that might be interesting. You just point the way and they do the work.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. So that adventure is theirs to have. And
oh yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of children to direct and find their. It's a daunting task, but no, I'm going to stick to my guns on this. That we have unparalleled opportunity and unparalleled experiences that other generations didn't have to deal with.
But it's always like that, though. That's what the advancement of technology is going to always be like that. But instead of seeing as a negative, I see it as a positive.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not counting it as a negative per se. I'm just saying it's an unusual challenge that other generations have not experienced. My grandfather.
If that's what you mean, I agree. Yeah. If that's what you meant, I agree. Yeah,
okay.
You're absolutely right.
Okay. Yeah, you're a smart guy, man. I'll be honest with you. How long were you in sales? Because that's probably one of the fires that tests a man the best.
12 years.
12 years.
12
okay,
years.
That's probably exactly enough time. Because you don't want more than that. You stay there too long and then it gets redundant and now it's like mowing a lawn.
It was redundant. Like by the end, I would say that the past 3 years was extremely redundant. But the reason I continued doing it is because I was developing businesses on the side and I needed a cash flow.
Yes.
I needed to have a job in order to build side hustles that would eventually become my real passion. It takes this is the smartest way you can do it. Continue working, invest all that extra money that you can save into businesses that you're starting, but you need a cash flow. I needed to continue doing it. But I would argue that the best job on the planet is sales, not because it's enjoyable, but because it's one of the hardest things that you can do. Having to create rapport with a stranger out of the blue, being able to sit down with someone, being able to extract information out of someone, to be able to put your ideas into words so that people understand what you're trying to say, being able to read a room in direct, like really reading a room. You sit down. I'm so good at it now. I sit down and I can read the room just by how people, what the type of the clothes that they're wearing, the type of posture that they have on their chairs. I can read the room by feeling the energy. I just sit down, but consciously for about 10 years, you know, that for, I would say about 5 or 6 years, every single meeting I've had with customers, I would have a formula that I was testing on them. I'm a big fan of psychology. So I've read a lot of books on psychology. One of the best one being Just Listen. If you want to read a book on communication that is the best thing out there, Just Listen is the name of the book. It's written by a psychologist that trains FBI negotiator, like the people that deal with hostage situations, how to create rapport with a hostage taker. How do you interact with someone that literally has a gun on somebody's head, and how do you disarm them with your words? And
wild concept,
my version
man. That's a wild concept.
How good do you have to be? You're under pressure. You literally have a gun to your head, and you need to be able to negotiate with those people and create rapport through words only. It's my book version of this one is probably has about 30 sticky notes coming out of the top, because what I would do is I would go through the book, I would read some things that I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm not the best at doing this, so today this is what I'm going to do. So before every single meeting I had a reminder that would pop up about 10 or 15 minutes prior to my meeting, when I'm sitting in the parking lot of the customer waiting to go in. There would be like it would take me a minute. It's just a bunch of notes that would say, okay, today you need to work on those specific things. So I'm like, okay, cool. I would take that reminder. I would move it to my next 15 minutes prior to my next meeting. And then I'd go in the meeting. So every meeting for years, I would change those notes to update, to upgrade, to upgrade, to upgrade, to just start adding and adding and adding. I had the best opportunity to do it. Why do you think that I've been able to record about 200 podcasts in the past 2 years? And all the comments that I get from people are, holy shit, bro, how long have you been doing this? 2 years. Why? Because I've done 12 years of sales. My main job as a salesman, what's your main job? Create rapport with someone, create trust with someone enough that they will buy something from you. It's all about trust. The person needs to trust that you are the best person to provide the service that they need.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. What would you say is the best sales job you can start in? What is the best sales job someone can start in?
I don't think there's good and bad ones. They're all gonna suck at some point, because it's hard. If you're not used to selling, I think that door to door would be the hardest. I did door to door when I was a kid, and
that sounds
I stopped right away because I did not have the mindset back then to do it. But you know what? The hardest would probably be the door to door, or what we call cold calling. When
that's tough. Yeah.
In our teams, we always had 2 or 3 younger guys that were fresh out of school. All they would do is we would give them a list of people to call, and they would try to book us appointments. So they would call cold. Hey, can I speak to the person that's responsible for this, this, and this? In my business, our rejection rate is about 90%. Yeah. So out of every 10 customers we approach, we only close one of them.
That's so funny. That's exactly how I do this podcast, basically.
I do the same thing as you.
Yeah, it's about 95% no's. And I've actually come to the conclusion that younger people have a hard time saying no. So I'm a little skeptical when I put them on the schedule, because I'm not sure if they're actually going to follow through with it on the day they said they did. And I've got a schedule to keep, and I don't have the luxury of missing 2 or 3 of these when I've made time with my kids, I made time with my job, I made time with everything else I have to make sure this window of opportunity is available. I don't want to squander that time. So I'll be honest with you, there's been a couple kids that said they would and they didn't, and I'm like, shoot. What the problem was is they didn't have the balls to say no. So they wiggled around with maybes and yeses, and I should have known that from the jump.
I don't get young men on my podcast. That's not true. I've had, out of probably 150 to 200 podcasts, I probably had 10 young men on it, maybe 10. Okay. I would say more like 5, and they're people that I've met in real life. I knew who they were, and I knew that they would be there. No questions about it, because they're special young men. But I would not interview young men for this reason alone. They're normally not very on schedule, or they find excuses. Yeah, it's easier to say yes and then ghost you afterwards than just say, you know what, bro, I'm not interested by your fucking podcast.
Yeah, right. And that's all you got to say. You ain't hurt my feelings. I don't got time to argue with you or care that much. It's not like it. But the reality is, though, I'm on what episode? I think this is 56. I had to not publish 3 for other reasons that have nothing to do with any of this topic. And then about three young men, I think it's 2 or 3 young men. So I've got about 4 out of 56 that actually were on, and about 3 or 4 that failed. Because I'm an equal opportunity person. I don't care, male, female, young or old. If you're creating content, I want to talk to you and see where your mindset is. And I want to get I want to get a section of every group. I want to really
Yeah, yeah.
sample everybody properly and see what makes you throw yourself out there. Because it takes a little bit of courage to put yourself out there, to take the time to let other people critique you and know that you will be in the spotlight. At least by the people that you're most intimate with will know that you're doing something that the average person wasn't willing to bother do.
It's, I get hating messages on a daily basis.
Isn't that
Like
so weird? Isn't that so weird that you've got so much time on your hands that you care about what I'm doing and you don't even know me?
there's so I did one of the guys that I don't know if you ever heard of the kids. I need to stop calling them kids. They're not kids. They're very bright young men.
Okay.
They run the School of Hard Knocks. It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
popular.
I tried to talk to him. You know what? If you can, man, I would love to have him on my podcast. Try to get one of these guys. If you could throw me a line, I'd appreciate it, man. Because I talked to them a couple times and they kind of just didn't have time, man.
Oh, they're very hard. I know them personally. Like I'm in Austin right now, where they're from. Like if you look at
Wow.
their Instagram, the two out of the three last videos are with me. So
No
I've
shit.
recorded
Okay,
a
I'll
lot
have
of
to check. I haven't checked them in a couple weeks, but yeah. I like what they're
I've
doing.
recorded
Yeah, it's good stuff, man.
I've recorded a lot of content with them over the past 4 weeks or so. And one of the things, and this is funny because they posted something yesterday night, and I woke up around 2 o'clock this morning. It already had more like 200 or 250,000 views, and it's
Wow.
just like a 20-second snippet between just having James, the main guy, asking me questions, and it's about sales. And I'm seeing how if I can make somebody laugh in a serious meeting, I got you. I know that sell.
Dead to rights. Yeah, you got them.
Yeah, I know that I can. Some of the comments are all about how I'm dressed. I was dressed with a green bomber, some jeans, and some construction boots. Like it's just I got out of the gym. I was just dressed as I do in my regular life, right?
Okay.
And people are discussing. Some of the people are making comments on what I'm wearing. And I ran into one of them this morning. I'm like, okay, sure, bro. I don't spend my money on my clothes. You know what I spend my money on? My investments, building up my companies, and paying my employees. I think that you and I's priorities are very different. Because what matters? The clothes that you wear? I fucking wear $15, $20 shirts, $20 jeans, and I buy all of my shoes on rebate. Why would I spend money on that when I can invest it in both the the SPN 500 or in my businesses or pay my employees? Like everybody that hates out there always they're just very disappointed with their own life. You never hear a successful guy waste their time on social media to go critique other people.
Yeah, it
You
doesn't
know
even
why?
make
They're
sense
too
to me. Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. I'm
no.
like, what the hell? I would never say that to you in person because I don't even have time to do that unless we are good friends. I am not going to invest that much time into anything. That doesn't even.
But I love
never
it.
Make sense to me.
But you know what? I love it. I welcome
there is
those
a positive.
comments.
There is a positive. These guys that are complaining, they're actually giving you more traction. Half of those numbers are probably from the interactions. So they're doing you a huge favor. People don't realize those trolls can draw way more people into those conversations. And all of a sudden that conversation takes over.
You're allowing me to explain my ideas into a guy that is the complete opposite of who I'm trying to sell to. My message is for specific type of men, and having weak men jump on my comments and start insulting me proves to the people that want to become good men why you don't want to stay an asshole, why that type of behavior is wrong. So you're basically giving me the space to build my credentials, to tell you, to explain myself as to why you want to become a good man. You're allowing me to explain my views, and you're arguing with me, so you're boosting me in the algorithm of every single social media out there. How many times have I finished an argument with one of those haters and say, hey, by the way, bro, thanks for the help in the algorithm. I really appreciate you.
Yeah,
they don't respond to this.
Yeah, they're done.
That kills the conversation.
I'm sure
every
it shuts
time.
them down. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
I'll take the publicity. I don't give a fuck that you agree with me or not. If you're giving me, I'd rather you agree, obviously, but if you disagree,
well,
as you said, those trolls.
It's a legitimate argument, then that's okay.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I can disagree with you.
That's what I want.
And we can actually fine tune both of our ideas.
Fuck yeah.
And there's a good chance I might learn something.
Yeah.
So I'm all ears if you disagree with me on something legitimately. If you're just hating, it's a whole other game.
Absolutely.
And now I'm probably going to pick on you a little bit, and that's a whole nother animal. But
it is, I welcome people that disagree with me. These are why I put those things out there, to create a discussion with people that don't see it my way, so that we can explain each other and figure out. And I can tell you, if you're talking to someone that is somewhat intelligent, that is trying to learn, that's not just hating, most of the time, if I would say 90 to 95% of the time, we get to an agreement by the end.
Well, I think I think we're all in the search of truth.
Yeah.
We're all in the search of truth.
Agreed.
So there's got to be a place where my experience and my view and your experience and your view meet somewhere in truth.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Yeah. Because you never know what your experiences are and how the lens of what you see dictate the expression you're going to have, and then all of a sudden someone fine tunes that minute conversation and tweaks it a little bit, and they're not even arguing. It's more of a, let me clarify this because I've experienced something a little bit different, but I can come to the same conclusion. And it's a pretty cool way of looking at life, to be able to see open-mindedly someone else's walk.
How else are you supposed to learn?
Yeah, yes. Well, there's a couple ways. You can learn from a book, you can learn from the hard way, and you can learn from other people's experiences by communicating and all that. And I think that's why it's so powerful to be a speaker, to be a talker, to be a reader, to be a writer. I think we're missing now. I think that's another big thing. You can argue that technology's forcing kids to stop being so articulate.
But see,
I'm not using an excuse, and my point isn't the excuse.
No.
My point is, you go back to like Huckleberry Finn, and this kid's outside all day, and this kid's playing on a raft with his buddy on the river. He didn't have a phone in his hand to mess him up. To you know what I mean? He literally was going to read. Well, you know what? I guess it is kind of an excuse in a sense. It's just
because look at what we're doing right now. We're creating content. We're in front of a camera, and we are having a discussion that we hope will be interesting enough for people to listen to. At the end of the day, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Do you not think that a child, that a teenager, that a young man can start building those skills? It's one of the hardest things to... People don't understand how hard it is to create content that people will enjoy, that people will vibe with, how hard it is to be in front of a camera and not sound like an idiot, be articulate. It is not easy. And it is hard to go through that footage, edit it yourself, and not cringe at, wow, I look like an idiot. Oh, what I said there sounds really stupid. It's a great skill that now kids have from an early age. They can learn how to present themselves in front of the camera. You have a cell phone. Just right now, I have one camera there. I have another one over there. I have one in my bag. I have one here. There's chances of me doing it anywhere I want. Practice. I don't even need to post those videos. I can just keep them for myself and see, you know what? Oh, I am getting better at this. Oh, this sounds way better. Oh, I like this more. Prior to the invention of the internet, you had to do that in person. You almost had to practice your skills in front of a crowd. How the fuck do I get there if I have no experience? Now we get to do this.
Comedians have to do that to this day.
But comedians are see, this is a sad part of our society now. Comedians are getting attacked for being provocative, for being truthful, from not being scared of saying what needs to be said. And to me, there is nothing more important than comedians. Like, people forget that during the times that we had kings, where kings ruled the world, they had jesters. They had a comedian on staff that was the only person allowed to laugh at the king. His job was to relay information to the king on what he might be doing wrong in a way that's funny and acceptable to the king. But do you think the king would allow anybody of his subject to start making fun of him? Fuck no, you'd get your head chopped off.
Yeah.
But he had somebody on staff to question him. And this is what comedians are supposed to be. You look at a George Carlin. That guy would have made a great politician.
Yeah, he questioned everybody.
But he made it in a way, he knew that if he just put a show together where he's just complaining about stuff all the time, people wouldn't go to see him. But he made it funny so that people would, what the fuck did you just say?
Catch you.
And people, but that was his whole role, was to educate people through laughter. Takes very serious subjects and explain them in a way that's funny. But in the middle of your laugh, you're like, what the am I supposed to laugh at this? Because this is not really funny.
He did it. Yeah, and I don't think anybody was doing it at the time either. You had Andrew Dice Clay. No. You had, what's his name there? I get no respect there. Rodney Dangerfield and stuff. He was back early 80s. That was really cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. What, do you record them? Can you record them separately?
I am. I'm using OBS to record them separately. I find that it's a far better system to record. And not only that, but I get to look at you in the face while recording on the other screen. I just like it better. If you don't start staring at that camera, it looks stupid as hell.
It looks stupid if the camera's directly aimed at you.
Well, it's directly aimed at me.
But that's what I'm saying. So if your camera is directly into you, it makes sense to look into it. That's why podcasts are recorded at an angle in person, so that you're talking to the other person and you're never looking in the camera. So you're just focusing on the actual interaction and not where the eyes of the speaker are.
I'd rather look at you. I don't know if that ruins the podcast or not, because I'm not sure how you explained it. Okay. So you agree with the style that I'm doing? Because otherwise I feel weird as hell. Yeah. I look back at the video and I'm like, if I'm not looking at the camera and I start looking at the other screen, it looks stupid as hell to me.
What I'm saying is, if the camera is directly in your face, you need to look forward.
Oh, okay.
If the camera's at an angle,
other, it should be at an angle. Now I understand what you're saying.
This is what I'm saying.
And I'll be honest with you, that's one of the things I want to do next. Is I want to interview a couple of the companies. I have a cabinet company that works right down the street, and I'm like, man, this guy's got a good thing, and he started from nothing, and he's moving really fast. I need to sit down with him and actually do an interview in person, instead of all this online stuff. And I like the fact that you do those interviews on the streets. I'm thinking about, I had a buddy that helped me out with some of the videos, and I was like, dude, we got to go to San Antonio, and we got to do this together, even if they're just pranks or jokes or just common questions, even if they're mimicking other people's interactions, just to give it a try and a dry run. Because I feel like, unfortunately, I have grown in my ability to get my production out there, but it's getting a little stagnant pretty quick.
One of the things that I'm going to start doing, I'm super busy on releasing my first book right now, but starting in a couple of weeks, I will be starting to offer those services, because one of the things there's two things I started my own production house. So I have a team of editors that all they do is edit my content. Like, I have a few full-time employees. That's all they do is work on my stuff day in, day out. And I'm going to start offering that service to other people, because I went from generating 10,000 views on my social media to now, I think, on between Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, I'm probably pushing 250, maybe 300,000 views in the last 28 days.
Wow.
And so I almost
That's real money right there. That's real money.
But this is the thing. And if you want to step it up, right? If you want to go from where you are right now to being better, to bringing more views, bringing more people to your content, you need to invest in that. You need to step up your game. You need to try new things. You need to do better content, because this is the difference. If you go check my content, I have the same production value as people with millions of followers, but that is on purpose. This is because this is what it takes. This is the quality of videos that people are used to see. So they expect that type of quality. If you're not producing that, they don't fucking care about your content. They won't even listen to what you have to say because your production value is shit. So I want to go out there. So what I'm going to start doing is approaching men in the same field as I am that want to help other men and start offering services to offload that. Because I used to do all of my content myself.
Yeah.
I used to do 100% of my editing until about 2 months ago. Prior
Smart.
to that, I was doing everything. So I use Premiere Pro on a daily basis to this day because I know how to use it. But now 90% of my content is done by other people. So I get to create. Right now, I'm posting 3 to 4 times a day. 4 different type. I will post something about podcasts. I'll post something about me interviewing people in the street. I'll post a video that I did in direct that day, and I'll post another video on my opinions. This I do almost on a daily basis. Do you think it's possible if I didn't have the team behind me to do that? I wouldn't have the time. There's no way.
Yeah.
So now
yeah,
I can
the
just.
time is definitely an issue. Yeah.
So if the point of my comment is if it's something that you're looking into, hit me up. Because this is definitely something that I have the team to do, and I want to start helping
You froze.
others offload that without having to create companies to do it. Oh, sorry. I want to start helping others to step up their game without them having to have a bunch of employees and manage people. Just create content, get better at creating content, and get better at creating different type of contents. Because
yeah, you got to switch it up. There's got to be 3 or 4 different angles that you're attacking that content from. It can't be the same stagnant thing. I agree. I've noticed that too.
And
I'll
not
be honest
only
with
that,
you.
but yeah, go for it. Yep.
To be perfectly honest, I'm not trying to invest too much money. I've come a long way from where I started in 5 months, but yeah, I'm like $30 in, $35 in. I'm not looking to drop a lot of money on production. I'm going to upgrade behind me so that I don't have to do that. I see your curtain back there. I'm going to have to do something like that. There's a couple other things I'm going to do, but I'm trying to do this on my own from the ground up without putting a whole lot of money in, man. I have 6 kids. I don't have the luxury to drop a couple grand on a concept that hasn't proved itself already.
There's no other way. There's no other way to prove it if you don't do it. This is a risk you're going to have to take. This is why growing a pair of balls and becoming courageous is needed. No, but it's true. This is why, man, one of the last thing I did, I refinanced my house, took all the equity out and invested it in my business. I'm taking the risk of losing. I'd rather take the risk of losing my house than regret not doing it.
Ooh, okay. The regret's a big deal. I like the challenge of. I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but the most creative people, when they're put in a position where they have no money, they're able to make the best art.
Suffering is the best teacher.
So I like the fact that I've come up with all these creative ways to get as far as I gotten in such a short period of time, and did it with. I think my books say I spent $33 so far.
Yeah, but you're looking at it wrong. You're looking.
All right, well, go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say because I am at a pivot point right now where I'm going to have a little bit of money and I do have to make a couple decisions and I have to decide where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And
so how much is your time worth? How much is your time worth?
It's worth everything.
Okay, so it's worth everything. But the only amount of money you gave me is the money you spent. How about your time? How much is your time worth?
You mean you want me to give you like $40 an hour, $60 an hour?
What do you believe your time is worth?
$100,000 a year.
What do you think your time is worth right now as we speak? How much would it cost me to get an hour of your time?
Oh, I never thought of it. I guess if I was given that opportunity, I'd say $500. I'd sit down for 2 hours for $500.
But you're not worth $500. Just your attitude towards it makes me believe that you're not worth the price that a doctor would charge.
I know it would be worth it.
I don't. Okay. But my point is
it's a very unique way of looking at it because here's the deal.
But it's not a unique. but it's not a unique way. It's the only way you should look at it, because the most important resource you have in life is time. Why would I spend all of my days editing my own content when I can pay somebody that is a regular person?
Oh, of course.
I'm
But you said you did that for 2 years. So not only are you saying what I'm doing for 5 months isn't worth it, but you're saying you did exactly, in
when
a manner
when
of
I
speaking, the same
oh,
amount of
absolutely,
sweat and
I did it
tears
for
into it.
longer.
Yeah.
I did it for longer than you.
Yeah.
I did it, but the reason I did it, because my intentions were different.
You have
I
different
didn't.
intentions. Well, I don't know what your intentions are, and I don't know if you know exactly what my intentions are. So
the reason the reason I did it all myself is because I wanted to understand exactly how it's done
exactly.
prior to giving it away to other people. But it's not in a way that I want to get rid of it. It's because my intentions was always to help others, to put better content in out there. So my goal was to create a team from the beginning. I wanted to create a team. If I know what I'm talking about, I can then choose people that are better than me at it. Because if you're an editor and you're not better than I am, you're not better than producing content that I am, I'm never going to hire you. But
Yeah, and
if
that's a very
I'm,
smart way of looking at it. Yeah.
of course, so I need to know enough to recognize talent.
Well,
Once I can
there's
recognize
another thing
talent,
for me though. There's another thing for me. I understand where you're going with this, and it makes perfect sense. The other
yep,
thing for me was this was supposed to be an adventure. I went from making cold calls and doing this
yep,
podcast on a cell phone to doing it in
yeah,
front of a camera to
yep,
editing my own stuff and learning how to use what is it, OpenShot or whatever it is, Premiere. There's a couple of softwares
yep,
using
sure,
OBS, using all this other stuff,
sure.
learning how to get it on Twitter, learning how to get. I never knew how to do any of those things before. Half of
Mhm.
this fun for me, half of this pleasure of this was learning all this stuff.
Of course,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you have to.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So
have to
I'll be
start
honest with you.
somewhere.
I wouldn't have. I don't think my journey's done before I need someone to do it for me yet. Would be number one.
But that's fine. But
But
that's fine.
number two is I don't think I would appreciate the person helping me if I didn't get to the point where the journey, like we were saying about sales, there's so many years, and then all of a sudden it becomes redundant. And I think that happens in almost every career. And then you get fat and lazy, and you settle for that redundancy, and then you're stuck with it. I'm nowhere near redundancy yet. I've got 3 or 4 levels to go before I can even come close to saying I've gone as far as I can go. Do you
Have you
understand what I'm saying?
ever
Because this
heard
is
of the? I do. Do you? Have you ever heard of the purple cow principle?
no. Go ahead, shoot that shot because
This
I've
is
never
a
heard
great.
that.
This is a great book. From memory, it's written by Seth Godin, a marketing fucking genius, and he explains
What
what the
was his
purple
name?
cow
Hold on.
is.
What's his name?
I'm 95% sure that it's Seth, Seth space Godin, Godin. It's called Purple Cow. It's super small. It's probably 100 page, not even. But in this book, what he talks about his purple cow principle explains that creative minds, that people that are meant to create, that are meant to come up with great ideas, one of the biggest fallacies that they make, one of the biggest mistake that creative mind do, is they get attached to their product after the development. They are so, oh, it's my baby, it's me, I created this, I did this, I did that, like it's mine. They're so attached to their creation that they don't understand that they don't have any values anymore. My value is to create ideas. My value is to create content. My purpose is to be in front of the camera helping young men become good men. This is what I do. Why the fuck would I spend my time doing anything that is not helping me getting better at this when I can have somebody else in the back end that is better than me at it? And between you and I, that costs a fraction of my time.
Oh,
I am a
good point.
very expensive person to have. An hour of my time has a very high value. I only provide an hour of my time if I believe that I'm going to get something in return. Like between you and I, the reason I'm on your podcast is because you're giving me a platform that I can put my ideas out there.
Yeah.
And once my ideas are out there, I'm going to send this video to my editors. They're going to extract every single good piece of reels in there, and I just created another 10, 20 reels that I'm gonna stack into my folder, that I have 50, 60 reels already. They're just waiting to be posted. I'm just creating content, creating content, creating content. But this is what I do. Being
Yeah.
in front of the camera is my goal. Editing is not. Although I understand, you need to understand how to do it.
Yeah.
Once you don't wait, the point I'm trying to make is that never wait until it becomes stagnant, because by the time it becomes stagnant, you were there for way too fucking long.
Yes.
You should have. This is where I'm at right now. I have a marketing team that helps me develop my ideas, make them in a way that it makes sense. Then we discover a way, we start trying on how to get it to the public. Which format should I do? Is 20 seconds reel the way to go? Is it a minute video? Is it a long form podcast? Is it an interview in the street? Is it me talking about somebody else's video? What's the best way for me to relay my message out there? And then I look at the data. I'm like, right then and there, I can see the analytics. Those type of videos work better. Okay, why did they work better? This is my job right now. Why the fuck would I be editing content?
Oh,
but
yeah.
As soon as I understand, this is the point I'm trying to make, is once you've created that idea, put it out there, get rid of it, have somebody else do it for you, then create the next one. There's not a lot of creative mind out there, but there's a lot of working bees. Why not give the working bees the job they need to survive, to make money, and keep your extremely rare creative mind to do what it does best, create.
Yeah, you're right, because I got like 10 other ideas that I'm probably going to have to shelf forever because I'm playing this little game right now. But I agree with you more than I would have. I did not think I was going to agree with you as much, and I do agree with you, man. But
because right now you have 10 shelves ideas, and they're only shelved because you're spending all of your time editing and editing your own content.
Yeah, that's going to take a couple hours. Yeah, that'll be
bad. What's smarter? Is it smarter for you to edit content, or is it smarter for you to be creating the content or working on the new ideas that you have? Which one's the smartest?
I need to push the new ideas, and I need to push them now. Like I said, I've got this little window of opportunity where things are going to change whether I like it or not. And
100%.
Yeah.
100%. This is my point.
Yeah, you're definitely 2 years ahead of me. That's for darn sure. I'm just playing, and you picked the perfect time too, man. Because if you think about it, a couple years ago, when everybody was in COVID, that's when I should have started this and played my wiggle room game, where I maneuver my ideas and change my content and come up with all this. I didn't know. I was playing with the stock market instead.
Yeah, you know, when people started complaining about COVID, instead from having meetings that are face-to-face all the time, I went from that to being on Zoom and team calls. I got rid of my place in the city where all of my customers were, and I moved into my investment house in the middle of nowhere. I lived in a cabin. I lived in a log house in the middle of nowhere for 2.5 years. I just got out of it about 4 months ago, and now my girlfriend and I are exploring the US in an RV. Like, we're in fucking Austin, Texas right now, just here for another couple of weeks, and then we're going to New Mexico, then it's Nevada. We've been exploring for 4 months now. And you know what? The best experience of my life was to be alone for the first 1.5 years in that fucking log cabin, because they gave me time to get to know who I was and what I wanted to accomplish with my life. And while everybody was complaining about, COVID this, COVID that, I removed all news station. I removed everything from my life that would keep talking about COVID. And I created 3 companies instead.
Yeah,
I figured out how.
And I stopped listening to the news altogether about a year ago.
You have to. There's no point. You already know. Go outside your door. You'll know what's going on. Just go. Does the rest really matter? No. My mind is not wasting its time on such trivial information just because people are talking about it. I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I fucking spend my time doing it.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, that was a mindset I didn't have all the time, and I just started getting that mindset a couple of years ago. I don't know why I was so lackadaisical with my life. I think I had it too easy.
You had it too easy, or you didn't have anybody in your life that held you accountable?
My dad was a pretty tough guy, and he helped me a lot. But for some reason, I wasn't ready in my 20s, man. I wasn't ready to listen, I think was the problem.
That's fine. But do you have people around you right now that are ready to call up your bullshit?
Maybe my oldest daughter, maybe a coworker or two. But yeah, I'll be honest with you. I moved from most of my family and friends, so I have a whole new friend group, it's a whole different world for me right now.
Y- Yeah, but normally family members are not the best at calling up bullshit because they're too close to the problem.
Okay,
They're too attached, and they care about they care about your feelings. They don't want to hurt your feelings.
that's a good point.
But if you look at me, for example, there's two guys in my life that my two best friends will ask me the hard questions. One of them is older, like I'm 40, he's 65, so he's the age of basically my parents. And I met him as a mentor. Like I met him on a diving trip where we were in Belize diving, and we just ended up being in the same hotel, and that's been 6 years. And to this day, we still talk all the time. And uh, he's a lawyer by trade, comes from immigrant family, no money at all. Now he's worth a shit ton of money, a shit ton of money. And I'm so blessed to have him in my life because he calls up my bullshit. He'll text me every now and then, "Hey bro, what you working on? What you doing?" Because he knows how I am. And one of the last time we spoke, he's just like, "You're doing way too much. Why the fuck are you doing this? You should pick a couple of things that you're doing and concentrate on that." And I argued with him. I'm like, no, but I can do this and I can
Yeah,
do that. And then later on, I was pondering on what he said, and I'm like, motherfucker, he's right. Motherfucker, he's right. And since I've listened to him about a month and a half ago, I probably times five my views, if not more.
that's awesome.
So,
I'll be honest with you, you're right, because what happens is you're not doing what you're doing because you think it's wrong. You're doing what you're doing because you think it's right. And
yep,
for someone to
absolutely.
come along and say, you're a dumbass, you shouldn't be doing this, you're wasting too much time.
Yep,
That your first reaction is like, no, 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 no. I'm investing my time because I know what I'm doing, and you've got a
yeah,
list of arguments on why you're
yeah.
doing the right thing. I caught myself 20 minutes ago while we were talking doing the same thing.
And
It's
you
easy.
could
It's an
have
easy
my
place to be.
girlfriend.
It's real easy to be. No one does anything because they think it's wrong.
No, but you know what's interesting is that my girlfriend had told me that before. But because it comes from somebody that's so close to me, I'm just like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Who the fuck cares what you're saying? But because I have a guy that I want, my friend, I want to become like him. Like if I look at what a good man and a strong man is, he is what it represents to me. He's a family man. He's in shape. Like the dude 65 has a six pack. He's always at the gym, but he's created so many businesses over the years. He's worth so much money. He's such a good provider. He gives every Wednesday, he gives it back to, he helps in his community. He gives his time every week, at least a day a week. He spends giving back to his community out of just, he knows that he was blessed in his life to accomplish all he did. And now he gives most of his time back.
That's amazing.
So this is what I strive to be. So having a guy like that in my life that I can interact with whenever I want because he's one of my friends, but yet will call my bullshit is the biggest, I don't want to say asset because he's not an asset, but it is the best. It's the best opportunity. You need to look for guys like that to have in your life that can help you and mentor you just like a young man needs mentorship, like a boy needs mentorship. The fact that I'm 40 years old doesn't mean I don't need mentorship. On the
Yeah.
contrary, I will always have somebody around me that I either pay or it's a friend that will mentor me in becoming better.
No, no, you're right. I do have a good friend that was an old landlord that's about 65 that I talk to all the time, and I haven't talked to him in a couple months. And I'll
You
be
should
honest
call
with
him.
you, you're right.
You
My
should call him.
daughter constantly tells me, "I told you to do that, and you didn't listen. Why did you?" Then he says it once, and you listen to him right
Yeah.
away. And so I do know that experience. I do agree that you can't always look to someone too close to really get that change.
Because most people are not that direct. Like one of the biggest reasons I don't have a lot of people around me is I tend to be that guy. One, if you're lazy, I'll call you lazy. If you continue being lazy, I'm cutting you off. I don't have people around me that are lazy, complain. If you're not entrepreneur, if you're not somebody that is trying to push his limits on a on a day-to-day base, I don't have time for you. Why the
Yeah.
fuck would I interact with you? I want to be surrounded by people that are better than me. I want to be the least successful person in every one of my friends. I want to be the person that's at the bottom when I compare myself to others, because I want to strive to get better. And you know the old notion that says that if you surround yourself by 5 millionaires, chances are you'll become the sixth.
There you go. Well, yeah, oh, yeah. The probability is super high.
Of course, this is the mindset that you have. And people like that, people like me, will not keep lazy people around. If you're not listening to the advices that we're giving you and you keep on doing the same dumb mistakes all the time, or you're not doing it at all, why the fuck do I waste my time on you?
Yeah, yeah. That revolving door can actually catch you instead of you lifting them up. They can drag you down.
How many times have I been burned? But unless you know what, one of my biggest thing is I have faith. I have faith in myself, I have faith in others, and I have faith that life is going to provide if I put the time out there. I believe that there's a bigger force at hand than you and I. But I have faith in people. I want to trust people. I'd rather get burned by 8 people but succeed in helping 2. Those 2 people that I've helped makes the 80% of assholes out there worth dealing with, just because I was able to help.
You know, Nico, that's one of the things I wanted to touch on while we were talking today. Is your content? You threw out a couple times faith, and you
Yeah,
make that almost like a not a cornerstone, but it's definitely something that's
it
a
is. It is a cornerstone. It's the fifth virtue of a good man is faith.
okay.
It is absolutely a cornerstone.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't have a choice.
Oh,
Think
no,
about
no,
it.
you will worship something. You will worship yourself, or you will worship someone else, or something else. There's no way
Faith is
around
not
it.
worship. Faith is not worship.
Well, there's an
Worship is
element.
a
There's an
religious.
element. There's an element to it.
I don't, in my faith, you can absolutely, in a religious type of view,
Yeah.
you worship absolutely. But the way I use faith is, let me explain it this way. So let's say, how do you think you build confidence in yourself?
Well, for me, it was keeping a promise to myself, making a promise
Okay,
and actually sticking to it.
perfect. So you're making a promise to yourself. That's great. That's perfect. What made you believe that you would accomplish it?
I didn't give it. I didn't give myself a choice.
So basically, you had faith that you would accomplish whatever you put your mind to.
Oh yeah, no, no, I would go even further and say I was going to do it, whether it worked or not. That promise was going
So
to be
you,
kept no matter what.
so you had faith in yourself enough to trust
Yeah,
yourself.
I guess you're right. You're right. There was a coming to Jesus moment where you have faith in yourself, where you say, okay, I know I have this in me. I believe I have this in me. Now I've got to
Yeah,
actually I got to manifest this in
a
reality
hundred.
now.
So that's one. Now, my second type of faith is faith in others. So let's say I have faith. I have faith in you today. This is the type of faith. How am I still?
You're freezing. You're totally freezing up on me, bro. Nico,
You,
Nico, I can't hear you.
I don't know what the fuck on is so shitty outside today. Yeah, you can't hear me.
I can hear you a little bit.
Hold on. I don't know what the hell's going on with my fucking
Ah,
internet
you're back.
connection today.
You're back.
Just give me a second here, because this is, ah, mother, hold on. I know why this is doing it. I thought I changed this. Mother, just give me a second.
No problem, man. It's a shame. That was a good conversation.
There we go. I have 2 different internet connection, and for some reason, it was not on the one it should have been.
Okay. Well, it was a great conversation. It's a shame that it had to peter
Oh,
out like that. But
oh,
I think faith is important, irrelevant of anything else. And I think you're right. You don't want to be in a position where you're constantly trying to lift someone else up. I don't know if I'd want to be in the room where I'm always the poorest person or the smallest person or the dumbest person all the time. I think I'd want to be at the bottom 10%. So maybe there's one more person. Because if you're at the bottom of the room,
Why?
you might be in the wrong room. Just like
No,
if you're
if
at
the
the top,
smartest,
if you're at the top, you also might be in the. I don't want to say I want to be in the middle, but I want to be able to grow. I don't. You really want to be the dumbest? So you really want to be in that fire all the time?
100%.
Okay.
How else am I supposed to grow?
I
How
want.
else am
I
I supposed?
sometimes I want to just slow boil. I don't want to. I don't want to be.
Never,
Never.
never.
Okay. Okay. I got to
No,
man up a little bit then. I got to man up a
no,
little
but
bit.
I don't believe in balance. You spoke about balance earlier.
Yes.
I don't
Well,
believe
here's the
in.
deal. I
I
find
don't
that
believe
there.
in balance.
Well, hold on. Let me say this and see what you think. I have to do something that's sustainable. I came to the conclusion I couldn't do 9 episodes a day. It wasn't sustainable. So
Sure.
there's an element of life where I can't go to the gym for 6 hours a day. I can't wake up at midnight to go to the gym. It's 4 o'clock as early as I can do it, and
Hmm.
and that's sustainable. So there's an element of wanting. I'm not saying you want to be lukewarm, but I don't want to be on fire every second of the day. Do you ever crank down the volume to like 8 once in a while, or are you just at max all the time, man?
I only do it when my body tells me to.
Only when your body tells you to. Okay, I'm gonna have
I,
to
I'm
reevaluate.
very, I'm very aware of what I am, of who I am, and at the level that I can operate.
Yes,
And I will tell, I've learned over the years, like I don't use an alarm clock. I haven't used an alarm clock in years, but
really.
I can tell you, oh, of course. And I can tell you exactly what time I wake up every day at the same time. I wake up between 2 and 3 in the morning, no matter what.
No
No matter
shit.
what, doesn't matter. But my circadian rhythms, I'm so in tune with my circadian
How
rhythms
did
that
you
I
do
know.
that? Why don't you tell everybody how you even did that? Because I'll be honest with you, I get up at 4 every morning, and half the time I'll do it naturally, and half the time I can sleep in. How did you get it to
Yep.
the point where you have completely mastered it? Because that sounds mastered.
It's in, this is funny, but because it's in my book too, I explain exactly how I did this. But there's multiple ways for you to do it. But the first is to understand. One of the first things that you want to do to start understanding this is look at your caffeine consumption. This is one of the biggest problems that I can see. People drink caffeine all the time, and I'm not just saying coffee. Exactly. So I have a coffee too. I finished it, and I finished it by, normally my last coffee I drink every day is around 7 a.m. That's the last one I will drink. By, because one thing that people don't understand is that depending on your body absorption, but in general, it takes about 9 to 10 hours to completely remove the caffeine effect from your body. So 10 hours. That means that if I go to bed normally at 9 o'clock, let's say that that's a normal age, because for guys our age, it's about the average age, like average time, 8 to 10 o'clock is about a 40-year-old man, what the time that he goes to bed. So do some reverse engineering. That means that if I'm going to bed at 8, that means I can't drink coffee after 10.
Yeah, I was
If
gonna
I'm
say if I
going,
go to bed 10, it was noon. So that sounds about right. That actually makes perfect
yeah.
sense.
So that's the number one thing you need to remove. Second thing you need to remove from your life is, if you understand that you're going to go to bed between 8 and 10, start using devices like these, or at least put a blue screen on it. I have a blue screen app on my phone. I've designed my own that's going to come out soon, but you have a blue screen on your phone. I have blue screens on my laptop. I have blue screens on my screens. And I know full aware that 2 or 3 hours prior to bed, there's blue screens on everything that I'm listening. Just because I know that I want to go to bed, and blue screens are terrible. They're meant to prevent you. They generate the same type of radiation or light that the sun would, and your circadian rhythm is attached to the flow of the sun throughout the day. If there's sun, you will be more awake, and as the sun goes down, your melatonin level in your body raises in order to make you tired for you to go to bed. But by always having those fucking lights in your face, you're telling your body that it needs to be awake. So your melatonin level are fighting with you.
Yeah,
So
isn't
you're
that
fighting
crazy?
your
It's
melatonin.
crazy, right? Yeah. Oh, I agree. I
Absolutely.
get rid of it. Yeah. When I go to bed, I don't play with my phone at all, man. It's
Yeah.
just
So,
it's just an alarm
but
clock.
it should be 2 to 3 hours prior to it.
Really? Oh wow.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I don't.
It's
I don't.
2, 3. So if you go to bed at 10, you shouldn't use your phones past 8, or at least if you do, have a blue light filter. Have a filter that takes out that specific spectrum of light that prevents you from going to bed. That's tricking your body. The other things you need to do is, for sure, you need to implement working out in your day. I work out 6 times a week, and I normally, if there's one thing I will not sacrifice, is my workouts.
Yeah.
And I work out about an hour and a half, 2 hours every day. This is my me time. There's no question that it's happening. I don't give a fuck where I am at. I am working out Monday to Saturday. It's a must.
6.
So
Okay, I
you
do
need,
5 days. I do 5 days. I was
but
trying
that's
to do
fine.
7. I was trying to do 7, but it was
No, you
one of
can't.
those. It was one of those scenarios where it has to be sustainable, and
Yeah,
7 days
yeah.
was not sustainable.
But 5 is fine. 5 is perfect. 4 is good too.
I was gonna
As
say
long as you
sometimes when
do
the
it.
weather's real bad, it turns into 4. But
But
I'll
that's
try to do
fine.
some sit-ups or push-ups in the house.
But but that's fine. Then you need to eat well. This is another thing. Like, I'm to a point where I'm 40 years old and I'm in better shape than 99.9% of the 20-year-old men at the gym. I can think of about one guy right now that's in better shape than me at the gym where I go. There's one that I look at that I'm like, oh shit, okay, you're the next step. You're really the next step, but I'm twice his age. And I'm about the same shape as he is. We don't have the same morphology. He has a different type of body than I do. But one guy I could say that is in better shape, or at least in a better shape that I admire at the gym. So it is so important to eat well. It's so important to work out, to stop using those blue light filters, to be aware of your caffeine intake.
What is your favorite meal? What is the meal you eat more often than not?
Well, see, this is an interesting question that I normally never get asked, but I don't eat any animal byproducts. Like
Any animal byproducts. So no
I've
milk,
been,
no cheese.
I haven't had meat in 12 to 13 years,
Wow.
and I've been vegan for 5 years, give or take.
Congratulations. That is a daunting task in and of itself. They say the
The,
average
the,
vegan only lasts like 4 years or something like that.
the thing is I'm not your typical vegan in a way that I don't advertise that to people. I don't push that to people because it's a personal choice,
Yeah.
and the reason I do it is spiritual. I understand hunting. I love guns. I understand why people hunt, and in a survival situation, I know how to hunt. I would hunt an animal in the survival situation. The problem that I have is I believe in energies. I believe in good and bad energies.
Okay.
And the meat that we're eating today, that those animals are tortured. If you look at the footage, and I believe that, one, I don't want to hurt people if I don't have to. I want to create the less harm that I can possibly do. But on top of that, I believe that if something's been tortured and I put that in my body, I absorb that bad energy and it
Ooh.
becomes part of me. So it's a spiritual thing.
Okay.
I follow Buddhist principles.
Okay.
So I treat my body like a temple. I treat my body with the energy that it deserves. I treat my body as good as I possibly can because my body's connected to my mind. If I keep on feeding myself bad things that has bad energy, it will affect the way that I think. It will affect my spirituality because my mind, my body, and my spirits are all connected. And the first part is to control how you treat your body and especially what you put in it.
Yeah.
We need to put more thought. And the advantage of always having to read, I've been reading ingredients on everything that I eat for more than 10 years. And that's because I restrain the type of food that I eat. So I need to make sure that I can eat it. So it makes me so good at dieting. And on top of that, I used to be a fighter. So I used to go on extremely strict diets. So for me to be in shape is second nature because I don't associate food with emotions. I associate food for 90% of my meals, 95% of my meals. I see it as a way, okay, this is how much protein, this is how much carbs, this is how much fat my body needs to do in order to maintain my brain and my workouts.
Yeah.
This is how I see food.
Yeah. No, I do the same thing. I do, but my diet's vastly different than yours, but that's okay. Not a big deal.
No, but there's nothing wrong with it. There's nobody that says that a carnivore diet or an omnivore diet is wrong for your.
Oh yeah, no, and
your
I'm not a
body.
judgmental person either. I'll be honest with you. I'm intrigued
Yeah.
by what you're saying because it's something
Yeah.
I would have never expected, and it was something that I normally don't hear. So I'm all ears
But
on
I
the
don't
new
talk.
idea.
I don't really talk about it unless I'm asked,
Yeah,
because I don't want to say that it's irrelevant, but it's a personal choice of mine, and this does not make me better than other people. This I don't believe that I'm better than you because I'm a vegan.
yeah. Oh,
I
that's
don't. I
super
don't.
important because then we probably would
Yeah.
have had an argument if it was like that. But I
But
respect
I'm
the
not.
way you presented it. I respect what you're doing
Yeah.
because I don't want to debate the entire conversation. But
No. No.
I brought it up because I'm looking at what you're saying and the bullet points of the healthy lifestyle, the not drinking the coffee after so long, going to bed. I'm really intrigued by that because I really never put a lot of effort into that most of my
Yeah.
life. The last couple of years, I actually dug in deep and said, okay, I'm going to look at what I'm doing. I'm going to break this down. And then it was a lot of trial and error, just like I'm doing with my podcast. It's a lot of trial and
Read.
error and trying to find out what works for me. And I think everybody
Read.
has to do that to a certain degree.
100%. 100%.
And,
Read. The book that really blew my mind is called Why We Sleep. I can't remember the name of the author, but he's a neuroscientist out of either, I think it's Yale University. But I saw a podcast with him on Joe Rogan, then I bought his book. The guy blew my mind. The things that we have the power to do to sleep better is in our hands.
yes. And
Yeah.
on that note, man, I'll be honest with you, we're designed to mimic each other. You know, I think all of us, whether it be your father or a superhero, or it be just someone that you admire, that you're trying to strive for. Just like you said, you have to have a couple men in your life that you have as people to test you and sharpen you and call you on your bullshit. You need a couple guys that you not mimic per se, but you're gonna see the flavor of their ideas come out in you
Yep.
as you try to grow to aspire to be in their direct. And that's why I think we have religions in general that bring us these stories that show us how to become like somebody else. Do you know what I mean? Whether it be the Taoists, whether it be the Hindus, whether it be the Christians, they have these stories. They're not just rules where you have to interpret the rules. It's a story of someone going on an adventure, and that adventure explains the rules to the game. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then we almost mimic those to a certain degree, and that's how we become more enlightened in that religion kind of aspect. And you see it and children are the most mimicking of all people.
But this is what Buddhist text, this is what the Bible is, this is what Stoicism is all about, is we forget that until 14 or 1500, the best way we had to pass down information was through stories. The father would tell a story to his son, a mother to her daughter, until the printing press in the 1400s or the 1500s, I can't remember the exact date, and the Bible was mass produced. The best way we had were through tales and stories. Why would it be any different from spiritual texts? If you look, I've read the Bible and it's filled with stories. So instead of taking them black and white to just say this is what it says, we need to remember that those tales are psychological in nature. They're there to teach you about how you are, about what type of person you should become, and how you should become that person, and what are the consequences of not becoming that person. And I'm not talking about going to hell. I'm talking about becoming an asshole that nobody loves
Yeah, they
or
give you
nobody
examples
cares
of
for.
both. Yeah, a good
But
religious
that's my
text will give you examples of how
but
to be
that's
a
my
good man and how to
point.
be a bad man, and the consequences and the journey it
Exactly
takes.
my
It's
point.
amazing. Yeah,
And we forgot that. We're so obtuse and we're so ignorant and we're so prideful to say religion is bad, this is bad, those guys are assholes. Yet when you start looking at the stories and taking them as a story that is there to make you a better person, to help you become better, because at the end of the day, the fact that Jesus Christ existed or not does not fucking matter to me. His story is no less valid if he did not exist. The moral of that story is still true and it's still beneficial for us to know, no matter if he existed or not. It doesn't change anything in my mind.
Well, there's many layers there, and it does matter to me if he exists or not. But that's not a debate or an argument. What does stick out to me though is that those stories lasted as long as they did, whatever religion it be. Those stories lasted for so long for a reason. Do you know what I
Their
mean?
ultimate truth.
Yeah, yeah,
Their
yeah.
ultimate truth.
They wouldn't have made it this long if they had no value. So I think people do have to have a little more reverence. And I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying in general, society seems to be losing a little bit of its reverence to all the old stories. I don't care if it be the old Hansel and Gretel or any of the old. They lasted. They lasted the test of time for a reason. And I think everybody has to have a slight more reverence for them. And yeah, like you said, even if you don't believe them, there's still some value to them.
They're no less valuable because you don't believe it. The point in the matter is they're trying to give you an advice on specific parts of your life, and we're not listening because we're too. We'd rather argue about, yeah, but Jesus wasn't real. Okay, who the fuck cares? Look at the story for what it is.
And the psychology, I think you're right. You're really big on that one. The psychology part is the huge part.
Look at Jesus when he spent 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness. Buddha, if you look at Buddha, that was 500 years prior to Jesus Christ, has a very similar story. Except he spent 47 days under a Bodhi tree where he found illumination. But what happened to him is the same thing that happened to Jesus Christ. He met the devil. The devil is not a little red guy with horns that's poking you. The devil is your bad side of yourself. It is you.
Very true.
The story about Jesus Christ going to the wilderness, about Buddha finding enlightenment, is trying to show you that the best way to understand the world is to understand yourself. You need to understand that as men, we have a monster inside of us. There's something inside of us that is ruthless, that is vicious, that is bad, but it is part of who we are. And it is up to us to face that monster, put it on a leash and control it, and only use it in situation where it needs to be used. Except for that time, we acquire temperance in order to control it. This is why it's so important. And we argue about the fact that Buddha exists, that Jesus Christ exists. Who the fuck cares? The story is still valid. You need to control your emotions. You need to control your demon, your monster, and you need to become a better man. Point and simple. Who cares if it's real or not? Doesn't matter. The point is still there.
I think that's the 2 points of a man's journey in life is to face that demon inside. Because people 100%. Don't realize how evil, you got malevolence in the world. You got malevolence in the world, but you don't realize how bad you could be. And you really need to face that demon. You really need to face that devil. And you have to have that moment, hopefully in your 20s. And there's another one, man. Jesus bears his cross, that burden of voluntarily suffering and walking up that mountain with that cross on your shoulder is a very profound story that needs to really be psychoanalyzed. Because we need to face that demon and we need to voluntarily suffer. Because you will pick your poison one way or another. If you want to be fat and lazy, you will suffer later. But I don't think we as older men in our 40s are wording it properly. We're not telling the story properly. We're not living it. Something's up where the 20-year-old men aren't getting the right message that they need to get. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to get you on my podcast, man. You're telling a really good story, Nico. You're good at it. You mean it when you say it, and you're sincere about it. And it's not just a hustle. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying there's not a hustle element. I'm not saying that because every man needs to make $1. I'm not saying that.
Wants to get paid.
yeah. But that's not where the mindset is. That's not where the heart is. That's not where the words are coming from. They're coming from sincerity. I want to see men do better. And I respect that a lot, man. And I appreciate you coming on today.
Listen, this is my purpose, bro. My purpose is to help Men become better. That's it. This is what I'm dedicating the rest of my life to. That's it. This is not a hustle. This is not a decision. I didn't make that decision. I was meant for this. This is not, I don't think this is what I should do. I fucking know that this is what I should do. It's a certainty. So, of course, it sounds naturally, this is what I was meant to do. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to do anything else than try to be the best role model that I can be, because I know what it is to grow up without one.
Yeah, I think when you're younger and you get tested by fire by having something lacking, it makes a humongous difference.
Pain and sufferings are the best teachers out there. You need to, you know what? To compare it to what you were talking about, Jesus Christ, this was my cross to bear.
Yeah.
Because
it means so much more. Yeah, it means so much more than people realize.
And I wouldn't be, if it wasn't for the fact that I did not have a strong male figures in my teens, I wouldn't be such a proponent about the importance that it has in a man's life, in a boy's life. I wouldn't be such an advocate if it wasn't for the fact that I knew first fucking hand what it does not to be able to look up to a good man or look up to the wrong man, because this is what we do nowadays. We idolize fucking evil people and we wonder why we're so fucking confused. We put importance on things that has no importance at all. Instead of idolizing and looking up to great men, we fucking look up to dumb fucks on social medias that think that, oh, those guys are contributing because they're creating stupid content. That guy's a good guy. Fuck no. You need to do something with purpose. The men out there that are good do go through life with purpose. They have meaning to their lives. This is the most important thing for a man, is to have fucking purpose, because without purpose, a man's life is meaningless.
Yes, and you want to find it in your 20s if you can, man. Early 20s.
Well, but there's two different ones. In my head, there's three purposes that a man is going to face in his life. One is as a boy, his purpose is to become a man, is to train himself and to become what the community that he lives in agrees that a man is. And his purpose is to pass his first rites of passages to become a man. That's the first purpose of a boy. The second purpose of a man is to become a good man by being selfless and becoming the provider, the protector that his family needs. He needs to become the man that his family needs him to become. And then his ultimate purpose becomes to discover why he was put on this earth. What is the reason you're here? What is going to be your contribution to this world moving forward? How are you going to be remembered when you're dead? This is the life purpose of a man. How does he contribute to the rest of humanity, to a subset of humanity, to whoever he wants to help? How does he give it back? How does he become a leader? How does he lead by example? How does he get to influence others in becoming better themselves?
Nico, I don't think we can leave it at a better conversation, man. Honestly, sounds like your book is an amazing book, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thanks for having me. I always appreciate these conversations. I love these conversations.
I love them too, man. And I'll be honest with you, I think you were the most testing I've ever had, was this conversation. Most of
I tend to be an ass. I tend to be an ass and ask those questions.
No.
I do, bro.
I wish all of them were like this, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
most of them are a lot more passive, a lot more easygoing.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the fluff, but every once in a while you want to get poked by the bear a little bit, or you want to poke the bear a little. And,
I'm not very good at small talk.
No, that's fine.
I'm really bad at it.
I love it.
I like to talk about what matters. When I interact with people, it's deepful. I like to connect people. I like to connect with people in a very deep and meaningful way. Like, interactions are so beautiful. Why not get to know somebody for real if you're going to interact with them?
I'll agree with you 100%, because I'll be honest with you, I feel like this has been my calling my whole life, and I really made a mistake by waiting so long to do it, because I've always been someone that cuts through the small talk. I don't really care what the weather is or what you think
Yep.
the weather is. I never
Yep.
really did.
Yeah.
You know, and the sports, I can do it for like 5 minutes and I'm done. Done.
Yep.
That's it. I really want to know what is on your mind, what's on your heart, what has changed you in the last couple months. And I'll be honest with you, if there's anything that connects with us, let's go on that adventure right now. Let's go find it right now. I'm ready. I've always been game for anything my whole life. So I think I was meant to do this. And 10 years ago, one of the good friends that I do talk to, one of my best friends I talk on the phone, he's been on my podcast a couple times, a pastor friend. He's probably one of the more challenging guys. He told me 10 years ago I should try to get into radio instead of podcasts because podcasts weren't popular yet. And I passed it by because I had a family. And I think I should have pursued it then.
But this is a mistake. But this is a mistake that most men do, and it's not necessarily a bad one. It's a learning mistake. If you get to extract the lesson out of your mistakes, it's not a mistake. They were necessary. But 10 years ago, it was not as easy as it is today to build a platform. It was a lot harder. Now today, it's easier. But maybe that 10 years ago, you were too busy doing something else. Maybe you didn't have, you know what? I did not have the skills. I did not have the knowledge. I did not have the wisdom. I was not ready to become what I am today 10 years ago. You could have put me in front of a camera 10 years ago. My content would have been garbage because I wasn't ready to be that. I wasn't ready to be that 5 years ago. I wasn't even ready to be that 3 years ago. I only thought about this 2 years ago because it came up to me through meditation, through introspection, as in, what can I fucking do with the skills that I possess? And this is one of the best things that I can do because it is a talent that most people will never possess. And I've worked more than 12 years at developing it. Why not fucking take advantage of it?
I agree. Yeah, and it does come with age. It definitely comes with age. So do you go back and look at your content 2 years ago and cringe a little bit?
I cringe at some of the stuff that I put out yesterday. So yeah, I'm always fucking cringing, man. It's a hard thing to look at yourself. It took a long time for me to get really comfortable. Now I'll cringe, but I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Exactly. Right now it doesn't bother me as much. But man, did it take a lot to put the pilot out. Boy, did it take a lot to put the first couple episodes out. It took everything I had in me. It really did. It was such a hard. Now the game is, how hyper efficient can I get this out here tonight? Can I get this episode out tonight? So I have gone from taking like 2 days to doing this in like 4 hours. And I think I've become as hyper efficient as I can.
It's a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing, but I think you're ready for the next step.
I think I am too. I think I'm going to take serious consideration of your conversation we had in the middle of this. And maybe we'll talk some other day.
Just hit me up if you're. I just put it out there, but if it doesn't talk to you, all the good to you, like no worries. But if it does, hit me up. We'll set up a call. We'll figure out what you want to do and how I can help you, and we'll take it from there. No worries at all.
That's awesome.
This is what I do, man. I want to help people like you. I don't want to work with women. I don't want to work with woke individuals. I don't want to work with those fucking weak men out there. I want to give platforms and ways for strong men to get their message out there because we need more strong men. Hard times are coming and we need strong men out there to be good men, to be strong men, to be ready to do what it fucking takes.
Because when that decision's made, man, and there's no strong men left, we're going to be in a lot of hurt. A lot more than we realize. And it's coming. I think you're right. I think it's coming more than anybody realizes. It's coming.
But it always does. It's an 80 years.
Have you seen those? I've seen a bunch of stuff on it. Just the reciprocal nature of historical events and how we're in small loops and big. Yeah.
It's 80 years.
Well, there's a couple. I don't know if you've seen them. There's like a 20-year one, an 80-year one, like a 200-year, and like we go through cycles.
But the cycle of hard times create strong men create good time create weak men
it's like an 80 to 100 year cycle.
80 to 120, give or take. And the last time strong men were created was after the Second World War in 1945. We are 80 years almost to the year.
Is that nuts?
Of the last time. And look at the weak men that are out there right now.
It's
They're
insane.
fucking up our world. They're so
So fast.
disconnected with what it takes to maintain a society. People out there believe that they can be independent. They have no idea that it takes about 48 hours to have to refuel all the stores that they buy their shit on a daily basis to. Their food in Montreal, where I'm from, it's on an island. Every 2 days, the grocery store are restocked. What would happen if it went 4 days
Well, hold on.
without
No, no,
being
no. It gets
restocked?
worse. It gets worse. It's not
Of
just 2 days.
course.
It's not just 2 days, but there's a 2 day supply in the back that they're pulling out of. So they're pulling out
That's
two
my
days
point.
worth, and then they're bringing in 2 days.
That,
So if you went 3 or 4 days, they would have
you're
no
done.
backup. Yeah, they would have no backup.
That's my
So as
point.
soon as they
Yeah,
filled the fridge, it would all be gone immediately, and everybody
that's
would
my
be
point.
rationing. It would be an absolute catastrophe.
When COVID happened in Canada, people got scared that they will lack toilet paper. This
Yes.
was the number one priority of the assholes out there. Let's stock up on toilet paper. Are you fucking serious? Have you never taken a dump in the wood? Like, are you serious?
Yeah, yeah, right.
No, but
Yeah, I worked
I
in
backpacked.
construction. I worked in construction 10 years. You have no idea the places people can take a shit.
I lived in the woods, bro, and sometimes I had to fix my toilet and it wasn't working. Where do you think I took a dump? Outside. You know what? It is what it is. I need to go.
Yeah.
I fucking go.
Paper bag that 5 gallon bucket. Or hold on to that
but
tree.
but how stupid are we that our number one priority in a situation of a catastrophe is to pick up toilet paper?
Yeah, I think we failed that test. I really think we failed that test as a
Well,
society. And I
oh
think
yeah, oh yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
we realize now that
Agree.
our systems aren't as rigid as we thought, and those that are professionals aren't as professional as we thought. Because
What we should be realizing is not the fact that our society is very easy to crumble. What we should realize is that we have become weak because we're not taking responsibility to own the knowledge that we need in order to survive. You will always be dependent on others to have the best life that you can get.
yes,
There's no doubt about the fact that I can be as aware as I can be about how it works. I'm still dependent on that system. But I have the skills to survive. I know that if shit happens, I'll be okay. I won't live the life that I want to live, but I will be able to survive because I have acquired those skills, knowing that one day I might need them.
yeah. And I think everybody needs to be as self-reliant as humanly possible.
Oh, in bad situations, in situations of distress where you cannot control the outcome, you can only try to control it. You have 100%. It's 100% your responsibility to be able to defend yourself, gather food, protect your family in bad situation. This is on you. But who do we call? Who does the weak men call today in order to defend their family? They call the police. They call strong men to come take care of their family because they're bitches and they won't do it themselves.
Yeah, it's a shame.
You know how many times, and this is fucked up what I'm going to say, I've never said this on recording before, but you know how many times I've looked at men? Like, I tend to analyze people. I like to sit and just look at people and analyze their behaviors. And I can tell a lot from somebody the way they walk on how efficient they would be at defending themselves. And how many times have I met people in my life that I'm looking at them and in my head, I'm like, if I decided today that if I was a bad person and I decided today to invade your house because I wanted to rape your wife and kidnap your kid, could you stop me?
That's a
And
wild
this,
that's a wild
but
integration of yourself. Yeah, that's
but this to me is a question that every man should ask himself. If somebody would to knock at my door today, because this shit happens on a daily basis, there's home invasions all the time. People get attacked all the time. Like, I think it's 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 8 people in their lifetime will experience a very aggressive situation where they will need to defend themselves.
it's got to be
Why
more
the
than that. It's got to be more
Oh
than
no, but it's because there's no way to be sure because most people don't report it, right?
that. Oh, okay.
So statistics are only as useful as the people telling the truth. But The point in the matter is that chances are you have strong chances to experience one of those attacks in your life. And to me, that we're so ignorant and stupid to believe that it's not going to happen to us, that somehow we're special. So we don't develop their skills because we don't think they're important. It's our society is fucked. Like I can't. It's
Well, let's end this on a good note. Let's end this on a good note, man. So it sounds like your book is amazing. Is there anything else you want to plug, man? Go ahead.
If you want to hear more of my big mouth speaking, you can follow me on YouTube at Nico Lagan. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram at Coach Nico Lagan, and on TikTok at Nico Lagan Coach.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, man. I know your time is valuable. You already made that self-evident a couple times, and I hope you get as much content out of this as I did.
I'm sure. Believe me, I'm sending this to. As soon as you post this, send me the original file. I'm sending them to my editors, and they're gonna make a lot of content.
Well, this one's gonna be a long one, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I might have to send you two because this is like 2 hours, bro.
That's fine. That's fine. Send it over. They edit a 1 to 2 hour podcast every week to extract information. So no worries, man.
Awesome. Well, again, Nico, I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great week, man, and enjoy your little adventure there. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Thank you, brother. Have a good day. Thanks again for having me, man.
Absolutely.
Weather is good, sun is shining, go get my vibe.